Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest development. I loved this episode. You know, I have been so enthusiastic, interested, and curious about all things Tantra, sacred sexuality, connecting to our yonis, our sacred portals, the divine feminine energy, Shakti wisdom. I've really been interested in these things for many years, but my path of Ayurveda kind of took over. That ended up being the thing that I led with professionally, writing books about it. Ayurveda is the world's oldest health system, the sister science of yoga. But another sister science of yoga is Tantra, which is the practice of complete duality between feminine and masculine, including your sacred sexuality. So I met Nadine back when I was living in Bali, you know, over 5 years ago. And I've loved just watching her journey. I've had her on the podcast episode before about a year and a half ago, all about menstruation wisdom and connecting to our menstrual cycles for living our best lives, which I highly recommend listening to. But in this episode, we go even deeper, and that is really looking at your orgasms as spiritual practice. So in this conversation, we talk about the different types of orgasm: clitoral orgasms, G-spot orgasms, cervical orgasms, as there are many others, such as breast, energetic, even throat. But we talk about these three main types of orgasm and the energies they are related to. We also talk about the tantric view of sexuality, of honoring your body, of connecting to yourself foremost, and then your partner. So this is a really beautiful conversation because I think a lot of us, especially with sexuality, have been very suppressed. I've done many episodes on sexuality on this podcast, such as the one with Shan Boodram, which was amazing. But a lot of us grew up with shame around sexuality. You know, as children, we were innately curious about, oh, well, if I touch myself here, this feels good. And it's just our reaction. It's our body's response because we are creating hormones, etc. But then we're told by our families, our societies, schools, churches, whatever, that is wrong, that is shameful. You should not do that. You might go to hell for doing that. And we've created this disconnect between ourselves and our sexualities, and in fact, felt a lot of guilt and shame around them, which has made us not dive deeper. And I've been doing a lot of reading around this, and an interesting thing that I've researched is that most of us as children or as teenagers, when we began exploring our sexuality, touching ourselves, etc., there's so much fear around getting caught. And that fear around getting caught makes you essentially go to whatever will make you come the fastest, finish the fastest. And most of us have created neural pathways based off of whatever will get us off the fastest, based off of however we originally started to touch ourselves. And because of that, we stick with those patterns for the rest of our lives, and we don't explore the many other textures and approaches and ways that we can connect to our sacred sexuality. So in this conversation, we talk about the many ways that you can, and also that sexuality is not just about P in V, penis in vagina, or same sex, or whatever. It's not about the genitals. It's not even about sex. It's really life force. It's sacred life force energy. It is the strongest energy. It created all of us. You were here because of sex. I'm here because of sex. Sex is creation. And that's why the word yoni in Sanskrit means the sacred portal. It is the portal between the two worlds, the seen and the unseen. So a lot of us have a lot of baggage, a lot of resistance around this type of work. We think it's dirty. We think it's disgusting. We don't want anything to do with it. And I encourage you, if that's what's showing up for you, you know, maybe a part of you saw this podcast title and was like, what the fuck? Orgasm? Oh my God, what is this girl on? Orgasm is spirituality? Orgasms are not spiritual. Orgasms are dirty. They're disgusting. You should not talk about them. You should not bring this into the space. Like, if that was your reaction, you can be honest with yourself. Maybe like it wasn't till that upfront, but maybe there's a little stroke of that in there. look at that, because that belief is not yours. That belief is actually society's that has passed along through you and has caused you to believe that it is true, but it is not yours, because no one is born thinking that sexuality is dirty. No one is born thinking that their body is shameful. No one is born thinking that they are a dirty person because they are born in human bodies that experience sexual pleasure. This is what erotic innocence is, that as children, it was innocent, and then society made it dirty. So we're going to debunk this in this conversation. And I want you to just, keep an open mind and an open heart and an open yoni to it all, because this is really where the spiritual growth is. And sometimes it's at our edges. Sometimes it's at the things that we feel the most comfortable talking about, like sexuality and spirituality. What the hell? Like, those were two words maybe I never thought would be in the same sentence. So look at that conditioning. Where is it coming from? And if you're willing to question it, go deeper into it, oh my goddess, what is waiting for you on the other side? So maybe this is as far to the podcast as you want to get along. Like, this was just like a lot for you to take in, and come back to it if and when you feel called. But if a lot of people I'm seeing are really awakening to this work and they are hungry to learn more about sexuality and sensuality, then I invite you to explore. I invite you to dive deeper. And I'm super excited for you to listen to this conversation. So without further ado, let's welcome Nadine of Tantric Alchemy to the Highest Self podcast. Are you calling in your spiritual soul sisters? I'm talking about those people that will support you on your journey towards becoming your highest self. Well, doors are opening back up for Rose Gold Goddesses, my Sacred Sisterhood collective, with community, content, events, and so much more. We're going to be kicking it off with my absolutely free 5-day Rose Gold Goddess Challenge, where we embody 5 goddess archetypes, and then inviting you to join this community. So many people have met their best friends, business partners, and healers that have supported them on their path, because frankly, we can't do this alone. We need community. Think of this like your spiritual gym membership. We have my Awaken Your Powers video in there, my talks at Google, Discover Your Dharma course, and so much more available for you for a very low monthly cost. So if you want to join in on this and join us on the free Rose Gold Goddess Challenge, head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com. Again, that is rosegoldgoddesses.com, and I am so excited to meet you in there. This episode is brought to you by Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a modernized Ayurvedic supplement company that takes certain issues that we have, such as mood, joints, immunity, digestion, and creates these custom little packets exactly for us, infusing ancient Ayurvedic herbs with modern vitamins and minerals. I take the mood formula daily. It is great if you work a stressful job, had adrenal fatigue, ever suffer from anxiety or even depression. And it really heals you from a fundamental and holistic level. So if you want to try it out, head over to Youveda, YOUVEDA.com. Use the code Sahara and you'll receive 35% off your first order. And they now ship to almost every country globally. So check it out if you live internationally. They may be shipping to your country too. And they just added India, guys. Welcome, Nadine, to the Highest Self podcast. It's so good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's so good to be here in a different time zone, timeline.
Yes. We were just talking about how the last time you were on my podcast, like a year and a half ago, ended up being the day that I got engaged, which we did not know. So you're my good luck charm. I mean, maybe I'll like get a new dog or something at the end of this.
Yeah.
So the first question I'd love to ask you is, what makes you your highest self?
Really being in nature and connecting to that, you know, my true nature through that reflection of nature is one of the biggest ways to connect to my highest self and express, and really living in alignment with my true nature. So from what I eat, how I show up, who I connect with, how I, relate. So that really like activates that highest self on a day-to-day tangible basis. level. So.
I love that. And you really are someone that is embodying your true nature and giving yourself and other women permission to do that, because a lot of the times we look at, okay, what's spiritual? Okay, I got to do like my yoga practice and then my meditation, drink my green juice. And you're like, I'm like dancing, like going crazy, moving my hair and shaking my hips. And this is my sacred practice too. So it's so refreshing to see these different, approaches to spirituality.
Yeah. And that's like really part of, how I live my life, and what I'm teaching through Tantra is really all encompassing. It's like it's not denying one aspect, mainly the human aspect, like those parts that make us human, our emotions, our sexuality, our body, and really embracing that human side as a deeply spiritual practice and a gateway to really embodying more of our spirituality, through the human experience, really.
So how would you explain Tantra and the type of Tantra that you teach and practice?
So what I'm really interested in is helping women in particular really reconnect to their unique flow. So how do they live more in alignment with their true essence? And this really takes us on a journey through really reconnecting to the womb space, reconnecting to our menstrual cycle, reconnecting to the unique phases of our menstrual cycle, and really embracing every phase of being a woman, every archetype of being a woman, every season of being a woman, which is shown to us through our menstrual cycle. So, when we get to that premenstrual phase, we're not denying those strong, powerful, intense emotions that are coming up during that phase. We're fully facing that and going into that consciously with the light of awareness in order to really feel what's there and learn how to alchemize that and use that as like a gateway into the subconscious, a gateway into a deeper aspect of our psyche, of our being, and where gifts are ready to be unlocked in that place. So, I'm really interested in taking women on a journey into really reclaiming those parts of us that, need the love the most, and those parts that are fragmented from, trauma or emotional like chaos or, childhood wounding, and really using that as like fuel for our creative fire, our fuel for our creative expression, and living in our highest alignment, and really connecting that with source, so we're like living embodied and really drawing energy from that place, from within us.
So powerful. And the last episode that we did together about a year ago was all about menstrual and just the different cycles and connecting to it and how to really step in. So guys, be sure to listen to that episode. I'll have the link in the show notes. And now I think you've evolved your work into so much more than just the menstrual cycle, but overall like sexuality, sensuality, embodiment, partnership. It's been beautiful to watch you and your partner and your beautiful tantric relationship, and how strong and present you guys are with each other, but at the same time open to, not in the terms of open relationship, which we'll discuss, but just open to being the full like expressions of who you guys are, which essentially is what Tantra is all about, not being afraid of any of that.
Yeah. And that's it. It's really, when you can really cultivate that within yourself as a woman, as a man, as an individual, then it's natural that you just like magnetize another being who can really share that with you. And it's like you're coming together as two whole beings to really magnify your missions on this planet, as opposed to coming together to just like dwell in chaos and emotional disruptances and just like shadow work. And I'm not saying that that's not present in my relationship, but it's not like that's the goal of our relationship.
Right.
Is to like
and some relationships are. It's like we came together to work on our shit.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like really being in those relationships fully, because that's like a gateway into like, obviously purifying, healing, like inner child stuff, and really stepping deeper into like your highest alignment, so you're not having to face again and again those trauma loops. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I love that. And a really good way to cultivate that practice is with your own body. So I want to talk about orgasms, the different types of orgasms and the energies related to them. I know you have kind of a system that you look at different types of orgasm in terms of archetypes. So can you share that?
Yeah. So I love just exploring like the yoni portal as like, obviously this is a gateway into our divine feminine and to reclaiming and reconnecting to our bodies and healing a lot around our sacred sexuality. So our womb and our yoni, like the whole area, not just the womb. So When it comes to sexuality, it's like the more we are connected to ourselves, then the deeper we can really connect to another. This is just how it works. And what I've really explored over the years is like really exploring those like three main erotic, I guess, archetypes you could call them, aspects of the feminine. So like the clitoris being like the gateway into the yoni temple. So you think about a temple, there's like a guard keeping, like holding, you know, that like protection of the temple. And, you know, the clitoris is being like that gateway into the temple. And so that like first gateway is really holding that, like the maiden energy, like that erotic innocence. So, you know, you think about it like when you're young and you're like exploring your sexuality and you're like, you know, you start to feel like a sensation just on the outer part of your vagina and it feels good. And it's like that exploration energy. It's the maiden energy. And so I think it's really important to not discount that energy and think that it's like inferior to any other type of orgasm. Because I know there's a lot of like,
right, just the clitoral.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's just a clit orgasm. It's like, no, that's actually a really powerful portal. And a lot of us hold shame around.
And a lot of women have only experienced orgasms from that.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like not holding, well, there's a lot of like, there is obviously a lot of pleasure that we can experience there, but like there's a lot of shame also anytime that we've been entered without reverence and devotion and love, that we can actually store trauma in that part of our yoni, in the clitoris. So it's like really approaching that first portal, that gateway into our body as such a powerful and potent energy, and not discounting that erotic innocence, the maiden energy, like, you know. So there's the first, that's like one orgasm, you know, we can experience. And then, you know, when we...
And the clitoris is not just, it's just not the clitoris that we see, you know, clitoral energy. It's like a hood with like wings, and it expands to different parts of, you know, even like outside on your vulva, et cetera, is still clitoral orgasms without, because some women, it's too sensitive to touch the clit, but they're still experiencing that in a different way. So I just want people to know, like, oh, I don't know, I don't really like that. I feel like I don't have that. Well, I think all of us have the sensation. It might just not, some women like use, I think it's called the womanizer. It's like some sort of sex toy that's like really sucking of the clitoris, and they need a lot of stimulation. Whereas for other women, it's like extremely sensitive and they can't be touched there.
Yeah.
Do you think that has to do with something like?
Yeah, well, there's different levels of sensitivity. And, you know, if you have experienced like any sort of sexual trauma around the clitoris, it can either shut down, like so become desensitized, or hypersensitized. It's just like any, you know, emotion that we feel, any sort of trauma, we either shut down that part of us or we like amplify it. So that's what I've noticed, you know, in my own journey around that first pleasure portal. And also like many women I work with, it's like either numb or like too sensitive, or, you know, it's like just really having that understanding of your body and where you're at. Yeah. And then, you know, like from there we can go, obviously, like when we hold like more of that erotic innocence and that deeper sense of self-love, we don't let just anyone enter this sacred temple of ours. You know, it's like, this is what Tantra is really teaching us as women, like honoring that we are the embodiment of the divine feminine, the goddess. And it's like, you're not going to just let anything into this sacred temple. It's like, does this man love me? Is he like actually in it for the long haul? Is he actually deeply like interested in me, you know, not just like, oh, using that energy just for instant gratification. So, you know, that's what that clitoris energy, that
and I think most people, when they think of Tantra, they think of like casual sex, orgies, etc. And, you know, when you really go to the depths of it and you honor your body, you wouldn't just let some fuckboy in. And I think that there are ways to have like non-romantic sex. Like I know people, they have like agreements that they're going to be lovers for a weekend, and it comes from a conscious place. But I think what most of our society does is there's alcohol or drugs involved. There's no honoring. It's rough. It's quick. There's no checking in with each other. And that's not honoring either of you.
Yeah, for sure. And it always comes down to the feminine, because we are the receptive pole. So we're allowing someone in. And this is like such a deep thing. It's like that little girl, you know, that part of us that's held in that clitoris portal, that's like, you know, we sometimes say yes, like to gain love from the outside, basically. And I know, you know, I used to do this, you know. It's just that lack of self-love.
I think we all have, because, you know, especially when men are young, like they're so sexual, they're building their testosterone. So we think the only way to get their love and attention is to invite them into that way, but we're not fully saying what our needs are. Often we don't even know what our needs are. Yeah. And then we end up just feeling depleted. And then that creates the foundation of our sexual experience.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's no one to blame. It's like a deep, you know, thing that needs to be taught from a young girl.
And that's why I think working with your clitoris is a good way of like reprogramming this.
Yeah. Really like taking that time to self-pleasure and like heal that relationship with that little girl, with the inner child that, you know, she just needs love and needs to feel validated from herself, you know, and the inner father that we have within us, you know, the inner mother, inner father we hold now as an adult woman that a lot of us didn't get from our fathers, you know, that like deep love and feeling seen and like presence, emotional presence. So, you know, it's a really powerful first place to heal. And I think a good place to start when we're on like a tantric journey as a woman is really like starting with foundation, like the clitoris, the external part of our temple, you know. And then, you know, we can go deeper, like when we feel safe and we feel like a man is really there to cherish us and actually, you know, have an agreement field of some sort or just really wants to devote to us. This is actually the gateway to really opening our full potential as a sexually embodied woman. So each time we get entered with like an unconscious man or a man with like ulterior motives or, you know, like not reverence and honor, this actually shuts down a part of our body and a part of our yoni and our pleasure. So, you know, that creates more tension in the yoni. And this is really a shame because like the second kind of gateway into unlocking that feminine archetype, that erotic energy is the G spot. And this is really holding that like that wild energy. And, you know, we can squirt from there. Like, and this is like a symbol of that like full unleashed, like wild expressed energy that just like, it's kind of like, you know, you like the young girl and then like you grow into like more embodied, like sexually exploring and just wild energy, like unleashed. And so, you know, that is like such a powerful gateway into like deep pleasure and creative expression, like fully unlocking through that G-spot. And so, you know, if we want to really access that to its fullest, we need to really feel honored first and safe and held and from our masculine, from our partner. And so, you know, then from there we can go deeper into the cervix. So there's many different orgasm types, but I'm just going to talk about those three. Like the cervix I see as like, you know, it's like this portal, the kind of bridge between the worlds. Like it's the portal into the womb itself and then the yoni canal. So it's kind of this like veil, like the veil between worlds. And I see it's kind of like that wise woman, the priestess, like that, even like the crone energy, but more like that, like just the wise woman. So when we really like get touched there in a loving way from our partner's lingam, his penis, like massaging and like really activating, we can really access more of this like deep embodied wisdom, I feel, because it's like touching almost, you know, it's like the gateway into the womb, which is that portal of creation. So it's really like stimulating a lot there and really activating deeper intuitive knowing and like the opening up through the third eye. And also, you know, it's also really a sensitive spot. Like it's a very powerful part of our body. It's a sensitive spot that really opens up to the heart. So it's like, you know, we're being entered, and this is like the kind of the gateway into the heart space. So it can really bring up a lot of emotion and a lot of deep grief and deep feelings, but like, you know, that are deeply embodied. It's almost like crying tears of joy, you know, that will come through because it's like this deep knowing of like your true self that's really waiting to be shed and unveiled. It's like you get an experience of dissolving anything that's not you and not true to your highest, and really experiencing like more like a psychedelic orgasm and like a transcendental orgasm through really massaging that cervix. Yeah,
I love that. So clitoris, the maiden, G-spot, the wild woman, and cervix, the crone. Yes?
Yeah, or priestess.
The priestess. Yeah. Okay. I love that. And I think what a lot of people right now are probably listening is, how do I know if it's a G-spot or a cervical orgasm? I think people are not, even sometimes in myself, like I've totally experienced like some orgasms are from this like deeper place within me that can almost be hard to reach. Like it can almost be a little stressful because you like almost get it and you don't, and you're not sure. And like, you know, and it really does have to come from a place of like surrender, and even just like concentrating, because it's so easy for the feminine mind to be like other things happening. But when I do experience it, like sometimes it feels good, but other times it's more of like tension releasing. It's more like I can feel it's doing some sort of healing work that doesn't really feel like that same like orgasmic energy. It's more just, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, it's just like a tension release. And then oftentimes I'll see visions. Like I'll see like a field of flowers, or like this like Victorian witch house, or like all of these like really random things. And that really only comes from that deeper cervical orgasm.
Yeah. And I think it's important not to get too in the head, like, oh, where am I orgasming right now? It's just allowing, you know, how like with that energy, it's like, you know, we are at the deepest like pleasure we can experience is the deeper we can surrender and let go and like just be present in the moment and receive. So it's like just allowing the energy to move however it wants to. And this is that deep surrender state, which requires the clitoris to be like well nourished, you know, so the core things around that, like feeling trust. You're not going to be able to surrender to someone who you don't trust and like feel safe and loved with. So it's like these core things that need to be really cultivated in order to really let go and surrender and just allow the energy to move. You know, even for me, like 6 months in, it's like, it's just I'm sure you experience it as well. It's like the more time goes on, the deeper you get in your relationship, so the more is unlocking within your body, you know, because it's like, wow, we've just reached another layer of our relationship. Whoa, my yoni is like showing me that.
Yeah, your yoni is like, I like a good commitment. No. Yeah. So how, like, is there ways that you could kind of tell if it's a cervical or G-spot orgasm? Are there different textures to it?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the biggest ways for the G-spot is what I experience is like squirting. So I know that's like a full release and full activation.
Now, are you just like kind of like like coming, or is it like full on squirting, like Amrita, like across the room squirt?
Yeah, it's like a lot of fluids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people, I am not a squirter personally, but I've heard that a friend of mine does, and she can squirt on command. Like it actually doesn't even feel orgasmic for her. It's almost like pee, like it's coming out of that same hole. Like and it's called Amrita in Sanskrit, so it's very potent. So explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really, so it's like activated from the, like stimulating the G-spot, which is like pressing against the glands that where you wee from, but like it's not wee. So, you know, if you go to the toilet first, you'll know it's not wee.
Right, it's not.
Yeah, it's like a fluid that's coming through that.
And it's like a whole cup, right? It's a lot.
Yeah, a lot can come through. And I think like for me personally, I'll just speak from my own experience with it. Like the only times before my most recent relationship, before that, it was like only times when I felt like really, really safe. And it's like linked with the emotion again and safe to actually express my wildness. So it takes that like wild man that can hold that wild Shakti that just wants to like, you know how you see like it's just the Shakti like, and then the Shiva is just like solid holding presence. So the more present a man can be in his consciousness, how expanded that is, like that's been the barometer of like how much I squirt. Because it's because I feel safe to really just unleash and like, you know, I feel held in that like wild energy. It can be a little bit or it can be a lot. It just depends like, you know, on your body. But I think really the biggest like thing is to just really relax into it, and knowing that like the deepest surrender you have, like the more you can relax into that and like let it flow, let the waters flow, the Amrita flow.
So you know it's a G-spot because you squirt. Are there other ways that we can tell the difference between cervical and G-spot orgasm?
Well, I mean, obviously if they're like touching on the cervix, then you can feel that like it's very sensitive. So, you know, if it's, for a lot of women, there can be a little bit of pain there because it is so sensitive and it's so linked to our heart in the cervix. So it's good to go slow with the cervix and really like massage it, not just like going hard and fast, because that can really like, it's like someone like knocking on the door on your heart, like really, really hard and thumping. It's like you want to just like massage it first and introduce it. And it will feel like the cervix is like a deeper energy. It's like, oh, whoa, like, and it can be quite emotional, you know, so, but it's like, yeah, it's just, you can feel it like deeper in your yoni. And, you know, if you use the jade egg, you can feel, that's why the jade egg is a really powerful tool, like just for isolating those 3 main quadrants. So the lower yoni and then the middle yoni, which is like where the G spot is, and then the upper. So you can start to feel like, oh, wow, like when I squeeze the egg there, I can feel my G spot. And then when it moves up higher, you can feel your cervix. So, you know, using a jade egg is really good to help like isolate those muscles and actually feel like where energy is moving in the body. And I think that's part of it, is like understanding your own anatomy and like, oh wow, I can feel more energy in the upper part of my body and it's spreading throughout my stomach now, and you know. So yeah, like having your own body awareness is key.
And can you explain to us a bit on how to work with a jade egg, because I know it's a big part of your practice?
Yeah, so I've been working with it in my own practice really for probably about 5 years. And really it was during a phase of celibacy before I met my most recent partner. I went really, really deep with it, like 2 years of mainly celibacy and just really working with channeling my sexual energy. So learning how to like actually feel turned on and sexual and erotic without having to have sex. Before that, I always thought like I had to have sex to feel sexual and feel my sexual energy. So this egg is a really powerful tool to really work with your own sexual energy and move it and circulate it through your body. And yeah, what it is just an egg, a semi-precious stone that you insert into your vagina, and work with different breathing practices, different movement practices and sound practices that really help you to unlock and awaken different parts of your yoni, heal different traumas that are stored deep within the yoni. And, you know, it's like any muscle in your body. We massage all our body, but we don't massage internally. And this is a really powerful tool to massage and release any tension that blocks that pleasure pathway unlocking within your body. So yeah, there's different practices for different like things. So like sexual healing practices, or like orgasmic sex magic practices, or, you know, just basic pelvic floor toning. And, you know, when that pelvic floor is toned, this is what basically the basis of the jade egg is really working with toning that pelvic floor. And when that's toned, then we can start to use that sexual energy and bring it back into the body, as opposed to letting it leak out of the body, which is what is happening if you're not aware of your pelvic floor or working with toning your pelvic floor. So things like Pilates and even yoga helps tone the pelvic floor, but the jade egg kind of takes it to the next level because you're using something internally. And when that's toned, yeah, we experience like a redistribution of our sexual energy as opposed to leaking.
Yes, I remember about a year ago I was doing yoni yoga. I don't know if you've done this before, but it was a lot of Taoist practices as well as some tantric ones. But for example, the clitoral flutter, which was to like isolate your clitoris. Like, you know how we do Kegels, that's like isolating the vaginal opening, but isolating the clitoris, which kind of takes you like a week of like practicing to even like figure out like where is it, let alone how do I isolate it. But you can do it, guys. It does work. And then this like upward draw, which was like kind of like squeezing your vaginal opening, middle, upper, and then release. But they had recommended to practice those things without a jade egg first. And so you're able to do it and then bring the jade egg in.
Yeah, that's important for sure. And even just the foundational practice, like I like to teach just the mula bandha to start, you know, like isolating the muscles, like squeezing, just, feeling attunement to that area and that those muscles.
I mean, most of us are it's a vagina. Like we don't know like the difference, and we're never taught in school. Like if we are, it's like very anatomical. It's not like, you know, the actual energies of it and what they're related to. And so most of us were just like, it feels good in my pussy, but like, what does that actually mean? And like, how are you feeling that? And we can have orgasms from not even being touched, you know, like we can have energetic orgasms, like from meditating, from moving that energy up. And I think our society is so like gross. It's so in your face. Like we need like porn and we need like the highest like vibrator possible and like more friction, because we're so desensitized that it's hard for us to feel anything. And what these practices do is it helps you like realize like even just like the subtleness of like your pants going across your yoni can feel orgasmic. Yeah.
And it's important that it's like, I like to really teach that a lot and really emphasize that orgasm isn't just a sexual experience. Like it's our true nature. Like being in an orgasmic frequency just feels like a free flow of energy through your body. And so when you feel that, like, like everything does feel like, heightened. You've probably experienced this, like a lot of people listening, and maybe you've experienced like when you go into nature and like everything like deep in the forest and it's like everything's heightened, like you feel like you're on drugs because it's just like, whoa, like everything starts to, it's because there's less resistance in our, our energetic frequency and our energy body and our emotional body. When we relax the nervous system, this is the key to really like allowing more to flow through us. And it's a frequency, it's the orgasmic frequency. And we experience it most commonly when we're making love. It's because we are most relaxed into our body and out of the mind, essentially. So how can we live like that, like all the time? We can. That's the meditation. Like that's the yoga. It's the tantra. It's like, this is a way of living. It's not just like going to a class and looking cool in the gear. It's like, no, this is an actual way of being, like on the mat and in life. And that's what Tantra is all about, really. It's like, how do we relate to life itself? So it's like, it's a more embodied kind of path, I feel.
If you're listening to this podcast, I don't even need to tell you how good turmeric is for you, but I am going to tell you how you can take your turmeric game up a notch. So I've been drinking Vadam Tea's new turmeric line, and they have these 4 teas that I've been rotating on a daily basis, which I want to share with you. We're about to get a little Ayurvedic nerdy right now. So in the morning, I'll have the turmeric spice tea, which is really good for the digestive system, getting things stimulated, waking up the Agni. After lunch, I'll have the turmeric ginger tea, which is really good for digestion and enhancing Pitta, which is highest in the middle of the day. At night, I'll have the turmeric ashwagandha tea, which relieves stress, just gets my body ready to sleep. And then right before I sleep, I'll have the turmeric moringa tea, which acts as a natural laxative because, you gotta detoxify. So I love these 4 teas together, and they actually come in the new turmeric line that Vadam is offering. So head over to vadamteas.com, VAHDAM teas.com, and use coupon code Sahara for 20% off. Again, that's vadamteas.com with coupon code Sahara for 20% off. Has life been very full recently? I like to say full instead of stressful because it's saying that you're so full of opportunities and responsibilities and obligations rather than them being stressors. But the thing is, sometimes your body actually feels that stress and it can turn into anxiety, pain, and even inflammation. As we know, the mind and body are connected. And that's when natural plant medicines come in. And one that I am a huge fan of is CBD. So one of my really good friends, Angie Lee, who has been on the podcast before, actually started her own CBD company with her brother, Mike Lee, a world-renowned boxer, when he was looking for something to help deal with the pain and stress and muscular tension of being a professional athlete without the THC. So together they co-founded Soul CBD. Now, why I love the CBD, and it's my absolute favorite, is because they combine it with MCT oil, which, as we know, is really good for the body, good for the brain, hemp-derived CBD isolate, so no THC, no psychoactive effects at all. He's a professional athlete, and like they talk about in the podcast episode I did with them all about CBD, he couldn't have any THC in his CBD because they do regular drug testings. And it is so delicious. I put a couple droplets. It just helps me go to sleep, helps me feel calm, helps with any muscular tension I have if I worked out too much and I pulled my back, and I absolutely love it. And they also have incredible CBD bath bombs, which are so beautiful. They make the best gifts ever, and they're all natural with essential oils as well. So if you want to get your hands on this incredible pure CBD experience, head over to mysoulcbd.com and use coupon code Sahara at checkout. Again, it's mysoul, SOULCBD.com, and use coupon code Sahara at checkout. So what does your morning practice look like?
Yeah, so I usually wake up, first thing, go down, drink some lemon water, maybe do some neti. I've just been doing neti a lot, actually. The Ayurvedic practice. I'm sure you've taught your students
the neti
about.
pot, guys.
Yeah, that. And then I do 20 minutes meditation straight away. Just sit down, meditate. And then I'll just do usually some strong
Do you
breath
do
work.
any specific type of meditation, like a mantra-based meditation, mindfulness?
Just mindfulness, just focusing on the breath. Very simple, just inhale through the nose, exhale, and just really like, I set a timer so it's like, structured 20 minutes and really just.
And you like doing that because I'm like trying to figure out, do I do my seated meditation first and then do my like dancing and moving, or vice versa?
Yeah, I just do it first because it just feels like it's the first thing I do, like, the practice, set the tone, and then go into some breath work, some powerful, pranayama, and then some yoga. I just do my like hatha yoga or some kriyas, like Kundalini yoga kriyas. That's really powerful for me. And then, it just differs every day. Like sometimes I might feel like I really need to just shake, like, or move some strong energy, or I might need to dance. But I always start with like wake up, lemon water, and then meditate 20 minutes. Like if I don't meditate, it just feels like a good way to just like clear the mind and just come out of the subconscious like sleep realm, transition slowly into, like this waking conscious realm, and just like clear anything out of the subconscious through the dreams. And it feels good. It serves me.
Love that. Yeah, no, it's because I'm someone who normally I wake up and I'm like stretching and pulling my cards and then dancing, and I'm just like go straight into Shakti. And I have a meditation teacher now, and I'm like really trying to like work on like actually just like sitting and meditating and doing nothing. And I have so much resistance to it. And I'm like, I don't know if this resistance is coming from the fact that I deeply need it, or if it's coming from maybe my meditation is more yoga and journaling and like, a little bit more Shakti related. So it's interesting to hear you, who's like super Shakti, doing the seated meditation. I'm like, okay, maybe I should do it.
Yeah, well, I feel it really creates that, like, because I do have a lot of like feminine energy. It's like starting with the container for the day. It's like that inner masculine within me, like, and it's also the discipline aspect of it that really, it serves me. Like just having a discipline is really strong, so I can drop deeper into my feminine, because it's like, oh, okay, like this masculine inside of me is like, he's on my back and he's like, you got to like stick to your practice. And it feels like, it's not like in a controlling way, but it's just, it feels good that this inner masculine feminine can dance stronger when I have more structure. I can like flow way more intensely.
Love that. Yeah. And sometimes what I like, which people do at the end of, 5 rhythms or ecstatic dance, is like after you've like danced and just like gone through it all, to just sit in that stillness and like observe the energy that you've moved through your body and the heat and the sweat, and just to like notice what you created is like, wow, I brought my body to that state and I feel so much different now than I did when I started.
Yeah, for sure.
And tell me about your dance practice, because I know you do some free-flowing wild woman dancing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty simple. I DJ. I told you this I think last time I was learning, and we've talked about how we both DJ. So I love music. I love creating playlists and, mixing, obviously, with the DJ programs, and just taking myself on a journey really through. I create playlists like according to how they make me feel, so like it'll be like wild or wild woman, or like pure sex, or like, like sexy or like soft, whatever it makes me feel in my body. And I just, really just let my body move intuitively. There's no structure or routine to it. It's just energy moving through my body really. And I really love erotically dancing as well. Like this is one of the biggest ways I've felt, and practices that have really helped me be able to if I'm feeling like in a bad mood or like really strong, heavy emotions, or just feeling like a lot of grief or like sadness or anger or whatever, really strong emotion, really like dancing erotically. And like, you know, I have really epic playlists that really activate that. And I run this as a workshop as well and like practice in my trainings. But just really like getting into the body and like starting to move that like emotion and alchemize it into that sexual energy, the erotic energy, and that kind of frees it up and starts to move it through my body. And I notice every time I do that, it shifts my whole energy instantly. I feel like, oh, wow, like, you know, it's like just taking an emotion and alchemizing it really through my body and just moving my hips, you know, getting like really sexy with it, getting down, doing some twerking. You know.
We're all about it here. Yeah. No, it's the best thing to just completely change your mood. And I was just at this Tantra workshop this past week with John Wineland. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but it was really all about embodying that feminine and that masculine. And for the feminine, it's through dance. Yeah. And for so many women out there who associate like dance with like choreography and structure and like something they can't do. So they've like never even tried. And to really tap into your feminine is that fluid form of movement. And so many women are working like 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, whatever it is in today's society. And then their exercise is like training for a triathlon or like lifting tons of weights and something else. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but where's your feminine practice? And dance is just such a great way, like what he was recommending and what I've totally seen in myself. I used to do boxing and I don't do it anymore because I was going way too hard into my pitta. Was it just like, it makes you competitive. It makes you aggressive. It makes you more rajasic. That's like the quality in Sanskrit, which is like, like very aggressive and very like 3D versus like that 5D of like connection and fluidity. So that's why I feel like free form dance is the only way to really, because if your body does it, your mind will follow.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the core things, you know, like with Tantra, we're working with breath, sound, and movement to move energy, like to move energy from the lower centers to the upper centers. And we think about when you're breathing, sounding, and moving, it's when you're dancing and you're having sex. You know, so these like, dance is a really powerful way to like alchemize energy.
And dance can feel orgasmic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys remember back in the days when you'd like go grind at a party, you know, it's like, why did we stop grinding? Like that was such a good release of like, you know, it's like you basically left that party feeling like you just had this like orgasmic like situation, even though you were just like dancing to Pretty Ricky, who we had on the podcast. And I feel like that's what we need. Like we just need to like dance and even with our own partners, we'll have such better chemistry with them if we can just like get hot and sweaty keeping your clothes on.
Yeah. And this is a big thing as well as for women, you know, I teach this erotic dance, erotic awakening, just ran one here in LA. And it's like, I ran a poll, like how many couples, like how many women dance erotically for their partner, you know, like give them a private lap dance. And it was like 70% said no. In relationships, 30 said yes. And I was like, wow, like this is where we need to be bringing that energy. You know, this is like a form of foreplay and actually working with embodying, you know, like the feminine being in her feminine essence, the masculine holding that like masculine pillar of witness and really like, you know, amplifying those two polarities, because when the polarities are strong, like masculine, feminine, that's when there's more attraction. If both are in masculine or both are in feminine, like the polarity starts to dwindle. So we need to keep, you know, the Tantra I teach and the relationship stuff is really about like maintaining polarity. And dance, for women, dancing for yourself, obviously, first and foremost, and then like bringing that to your partner super amplifies, like, and really builds that confidence in yourself as a woman, like feeling so seen and sexy and safe, like, you know, like bringing that like erotic dancer archetype into a safe space, like where you feel like, wow, this man like fully sees me. It's devotional.
Yeah. I think women are afraid of like being laughed at, you know, having their partner be like, what are you doing? Or something like that, even though he probably would never, he would probably be so excited. Like, you don't have to have like Shakira dance moves. Like they just want to see you. I think enjoying your body is the biggest thing. Like, why do strippers keep touching themselves? Because men want to see you enjoy yourself. Yeah. If you're just like obsessed with them, that's not hot. No. They're closed their eyes. They're in their own world, and them being in their own world is what magnetizes the men towards them.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Yeah, like the more you can embody pleasure in yourself as a woman, like the more that like, is a magnet and it really like pleasures the man, the more he sees you in pleasure. It's like this biofeedback. Yeah, there's that misconception, as you say, like just pleasing and like doing it for someone. But it's actually like the more you can run pleasure through your own body, that is just so attractive to your partner and to men. And just, it's for yourself first and foremost. And it's like, we need more of that on the planet.
Yeah. And what I see happen sometimes is the men are super exhausted from like being out working all day, like in their masculine. They come home and they want to veg out. They want to watch their sports game. They want to be in their man cave. They want to be left alone. And then the woman is like, she wants to connect. She wants to have sex. She wants to engage. So she tries, and then the partner kind of like rejects her. And then she's like, I'm not lovable. I'm not beautiful. I'm not sexy enough for him. So then she stops trying. And then it creates this like thing of, the partner's not having sex because she felt like, well, when I initiated it, I got rejected, and him feeling like she wants it from me when I'm not in the mood. And I really feel like the answer to that is for the woman, again, to cultivate her own sexual pleasure and joy. Because if you're like, come on, have sex with me. Like that's not hot. And that's actually coming forth in a very masculine way. Like the feminine doesn't need to beg for sex. No. The feminine is just like, she's just like making her dinner. She's like,
Yeah.
And then he's like, what are you cooking?
Yeah. And that's it. It's like, it is that exactly. It's like, the more you just like stay in your feminine center and your core, it's just like so attractive. And yeah, it is that, because it's like it will turn off a man, because then it puts you into the masculine polarity. Right. And then they feel like emasculated and then less likely to be wanting to engage in that, because then they'll have to go into their feminine. Right. And, it's like if you're in a relationship like man and woman, it's usually the man's in the masculine pole like 90% of the time, and the feminine is in the feminine pole like 90%. Like that's the natural blueprint. That's why we're born as a woman and a man, to experience that. Like we have both, but yeah, it's definitely that polarity is evident. And it's like, yes, we have equality now, and there's a big thing of like, women rising, men becoming more in their emotions. But at the end of the day, like we are man and woman, and we need to honor like we are different, and we are both bringing different qualities to the table. We have different hormonal structures on a physical level,
Yeah, and I think what's happening is I feel like there are a lot of men who were born more feminine. Like I think we're all like a percentage of both. Like, so maybe these men are like 60% masculine, 40% feminine. And before they weren't able to show that, and now they are. So I think a lot more are just allowing themselves to show how feminine, and a lot of women are allowing themselves to show how masculine they are. But I think that you're always going to find your opposite. So let's say you're like kind of like 50% masculine, feminine. You're kind of like pansexual, right? You're probably going to be attracted to and attract someone who is like that. Yeah. Whereas if you're hyper masculine, you're probably going to be attracted and attracting hyper feminine. So it's like kind of your percentage match, you're going to find the opposite of.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think it also depends on where you're at in your journey. So sometimes maybe like, you're a woman and you're needing to embody more of your masculine energy, like just in your career or something. Maybe you're hyper feminine, and it's like you're going through a phase of like learning how to embody more of the masculine qualities, like structure and all this. You might, in that phase of your journey, attract a more feminine man. So you can be more in your masculine energy.
And I think we can also like turn it off. Like I think that, a lot of women, like look at Jennifer Lopez, for example, like clearly she's crushing it in her career. Like that's quote unquote masculine, but she's still super feminine. Like she's still like sexy and desirable. And like now is with like Alex Rodriguez, who is like also like very masculine too, but he's able to like hold her masculine. Like she's able to be a boss and he's not intimidated by it. Whereas I feel like Casper, her ex, was like more in the feminine, like you could tell she was the leader in that relationship.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's interesting. I mean, I've noticed like when I started to date Steven, my husband, 4.5 years ago, I was like totally just feminine. Like I remember I was in India 5 years ago, and it was like New Year's. I was at Nataraj Dance Festival at Zorba the Buddha. I don't know if you've been there. It was like an Osho center. And everyone's like doing their intentions. They're like, I want to be more in my heart. I'm like, I want to be more masculine. I'm like, I don't know how to make these things. Like I have so many ideas. I don't know how to make them happen. And they're all like, what? Like, why do you want to be more masculine? I'm like, I really want to like be able to make money and like provide for myself and like not have to depend on anyone. Yeah. And now in this journey, I definitely have done that and created it. And I am, so I've changed into being so much more powerful, which I still think of it as feminine, but it is like a quote unquote masculine trait. But I think it's just made our relationship even stronger because now I'm not like fragmented in either side of myself. Yeah. Like I'm able to tap into both sides of myself. And he also like as a musician is able to tap into his feminine. So it's this like beautiful balance of like sometimes I'm more in my masculine and he's more in his feminine and vice versa.
Yeah. And that's like really the dance, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's like just dancing between the poles. And yeah, as you say, it might be more like 50-50, but I feel, like I think one of the biggest things, what I hear a lot with the women I work with and like these boss babes and everything, you know, we're boss babes, but it's like that. I mean, they're struggling to find a partner. Right. And I'm like, it's because you're so in your masculine. Mm-hmm. You know, you need to like drop more. Yes, you're a boss babe. Yes, you can be a woman and fully make money and be empowered in your career. But when it comes to relating, like you have to drop more into the feminine if you want to attract a man, you know, because a lot of women want that masculine man, you know, like to be taken and like feel like held. And a man to be stronger than their masculine energy at the end of the day. So it's like, I think that's like the biggest key is like when it comes to like relating, like when you're in your business, being your masculine, do your boss. And then when it comes to like dating, like even simple things like if a guy's asking him for a date, like let him choose the place that you go. Like don't bring in that masculine like way you are in business. Like you know how to do everything. Let him make mistakes. Even if he like leads you somewhere, you know, it's okay. Like, but just like let him lead and give him that chance like to be the leader in that dynamic. And, you know, you notice that deeper in sex as well. It's like, I don't know, most women I know want to be like just taken and feel like ravished. And I'm sure
that's all the work of John Wineland and David Data.
Yeah, it's like, but it's true, you know, like before I even read about this stuff, I feel that. And it's like, it takes you as a woman to really do a lot of inner work with the inner masculine, first and foremost, like rebuilding that relationship to your inner masculine and your inner feminine. And then like, once you feel that like balance internally, you can easily, as I say, like when I have my structure, my routine, like that's like my masculine, like they're present, like daily in the morning. So then I can drop deeper into my feminine and I can trust the external masculine. You know, I'm attracting men who I can trust, who can create structure and safety because that's what I'm doing inside of me. So it's like I had to work as a woman, like what's going on inside of my inner marriage, my inner masculine and feminine, because whatever you're attracting outside is usually like what's going on. It always is. It's what's going on inside. So the more you can come into harmony with your inner masculine as a woman, trust him, like give him space, let him give a voice for your feminine as well. And then that will manifest obviously on the external. So it's really powerful to, you know, this is like the teachings of Carl Jung, you know, the anima and animus, like bringing yourself into inner marriage, inner union. And we do that through relationships a lot of the time, but it's good to do that work within yourself first if you want to come into a full power partnership. You know?
Yeah, what I find really helps because I work from home, so I don't have this like I'm at the office and I'm in my masculine. I come home and I'm in my feminine. I'm like always here. So sometimes Steven will come home and I'm like working and he's like, hey babe, and I'm like, leave me alone. Like I'm just so in it, and I have to like remind myself after that, like when we're sitting and eating, like don't be in that. Like I'll have to change my state. So maybe I'll take a walk outside, or I'll take a shower, or I'll change my clothes into just something maybe a little cute, or like put my hair down, just something. So there's a little bit of a state change that I'm like, okay, I'm dropping into the feminine, because if I just stay in that all day, I'll like fucking bite his head off, you know? And sometimes we do love to talk about business and both be in that masculine, like bra feel. But that's not going to lead us fucking, you know?
Yeah,
That is going to lead us talking about business and our goals, et cetera. So I think a state change is really good, especially if you're working from home. And I think if a lot of people are like, well, I'm not really sure if I'm more feminine or masculine, what David Data says is the feminine wants to be penetrated. She wants to be ravished. And the masculine wants to penetrate and wants to ravish. So you, even as a woman, maybe you like to ravish other people. You want to penetrate other people. I know some women want to wear a strap-on and they want to penetrate others. That's being more in your masculine pole. If your dream is just to be like taken by someone and seized and captive, and he's just like, honey, I got you, and like adventure, like / killer, like that's sexy for you, we're like, like that, you're in your feminine then.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. Yeah.
And I think most men have become afraid of stepping into that. And a lot of it is like the feminist movement. Like I'm a feminist. I identify with being a feminist, but the feminist movement has turned so hyper masculine. And because of that, we're like, I can do it all by myself. I don't need a man. Like I got it. And then the men are like, okay, I don't know what to do, because if I'm offering to pay for something, you think it's rude. If I'm opening a door, it's considered sexist. So I'm just going to like not do anything and just like be here in the corner. And we're like, where are the men? Why aren't they rising up? Where's the chivalry? Yeah. Well, it's because we've kind of been like, stop doing that. So they've stopped stepping up. So in our society, more than ever, the men are in their feminine, but like a wounded feminine, not even like they're in their creativity. They're just in their sitting on the couch doing nothing. And then the women are like wearing all of the hats, but they don't want it. I don't know any woman that genuinely wants it. Like she wants someone who can like take care of her and hold her, even though she can hold herself. But we have like swatted that away.
Yeah. And it's like, it's on a deep biological level. Like there is a teaching, like I do a lot of Kundalini yoga, and there's a teaching in that, like that on a biological level, a woman can't fully surrender in, like her auric field will never soften and like allow him to fully penetrate her if she feels on a deep level that he can't potentially provide for her and the children if she was to, have a baby. So it's like there's something like deep in our, our primal blood and bones, like this like human part of us that is like a masculine and feminine part of evolution. And it's like, that doesn't mean, we, looking to like for a sugar daddy or whatever, and we just like dissolve and not do anything and just be looked after. But it's like, there's something in that, women do want that from a man. Like it's a sign of him being, it doesn't have to be a millionaire, but like he's on his mission. It's like he knows where he's going and he's leading the family. Like this is deeply what is going on in our psyche as women. Like it's every time we make love, even if it's a one-night stand, we are analyzing and feeling, could that be a potential father of my child?
Totally.
Like it's just a biological thing that happens in our brain.
And it's hard for us. Like we really have to like set an intention if we're like not going to see that person like that. And it just shows because like from an evolutionary perspective as women, we couldn't like be pregnant and provide for ourselves. We needed someone to provide for us. So that's why our bodies are like, keep him, you know, because like we need to live and just this whole feminist movement, a woman could only vote in like 1927, like less than 100 years ago. Whereas we've been doing this dance for like 10,000 plus years. It's a lot of like, the way we're going, probably there's gonna be like no gender at all in like 1,000 years, but we still are those like evolutionary mammals. And that's why I really love even reading like evolutionary biology, because you see a lot of the things that we really try to fight against are innate to how we are designed. And if we can like become aware of it, and then when we see it's coming up, we have compassion for ourselves. We're like, that's my desire to like not have my baby like die or me die from a famine. And that's why I'm trying to like keep him,
Yeah. It's like, it's deep root chakra stuff. And I think like we still need to understand we still have a root chakra, we can ascend into like other dimensions, but we still are, living in a material world. Otherwise we wouldn't have reincarnated back here. Right. We would stay in the astral, stay with the, in the other realms, the unseen realms.
Yeah. And we're in this body. And I think it's like our bodies hold so much codes. Like, I even experienced during orgasms, I'm like, that was healing something that I'm not even aware of. And it's like this most potent form of healing energy that, from like a scientific level, it balances your hormones. Like it increases dopamine and serotonin in your brain. But from a spiritual level, like it is the most potent energy that we have. Like, when else do you feel so hyper present and connected? And if we can just like become even more present at that moment and use that energy towards manifestation, healing, connection, we're going to go so much farther.
Yeah. And that's it. That's where we're evolving. Like, in that way of like the tantric energy is coming in strong now, like as a practice, as a way of being. Like, yes, we are procreating like new life, if that's your path, but it's also how else we're using that sexual energy, like for creation, for manifestation, and working with yourself and your partner. And that's what these practices are really teaching us. Like, how do we harness that sexual energy? How do we really refine it and use it for its fullest potential? Because it's so powerful. Like, if we're not creating a baby, we're not like every month, like in our whole life as a woman, we'd use 3 menstrual cycles max probably to create 3 babies. The other ovulation times and every other time we have sex, like, what are we creating? So like, you know, having that awareness and that reverence to that power and practices and tools that help us to really channel that energy into creation in other forms, you know, that not like it's better or worse than creating a child. It's just creation energy. So understanding that, how powerful this energy actually is.
Love that. And we're both practitioners of sex magic. I'd love to know what your orgasmic practice is.
Yeah, so to do with sex magic in particular. So yeah, I mean,
are you like, how often are you using your orgasm to manifest?
Probably like every second day.
Okay.
Like maybe every third day. I'll just like go in with a strong intention. If it's like something coming through like really strong that wants to be anchored, you know, and manifested, and it's really coming from like my higher self, I'll really focus on that, either like with my own self-pleasure or with my partner, and we'll set an intention before, like what are we, you know, calling in, and really like when we reach that orgasm, just like having the intention that we've set at the start and just like focusing on that in meditation and really just holding the energy, holding that like golden egg around us to really magnetize like anything that all our desires, all our manifestations we're wanting to call into our life. So yeah, it's a really powerful practice. And it's like, it's because like when you orgasm, you are so aligned. So when you're in that, like if you can focus all that energy and all that attention on the thing that you're most presently wanting to manifest into your life, like the strongest desire, then it will come to you like effortlessly, because you're in a frequency of non-resistance when you're in orgasm. So, you know, you're like a magnet essentially to all that's like wanting to come into your field.
Love that. Yeah, I think a lot of women, when they hear about it, they're like, well, I feel like I wouldn't be able to concentrate on that thing that I'm going to manifest if I'm going to be having an orgasm, or it would take me out of it.
Yeah.
You know? But for me, I haven't really had that problem. Like, I think it's like just, you know, knowing yourself. If you feel like you need to really be focusing on the orgasm, then just do that. But if you feel like you could just like bring in that thing and remain present, bring it in.
I think it's, a lot of women speak about that, and it is kind of hard when you're in the moment, but like to set the intention before you make love or before you know, self-pleasure, and like just setting the intention. What am I calling in? What am I, like, even writing it down, journaling it, putting it next to your bedside table or whatever, and just having that awareness there, and then just letting yourself like, you know, explore and run the energy through your body, and just knowing like in your subconscious that you're like pulling that desire towards you in that manifestation. So I think that's like, it's a good way to kind of work with that energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it, you know, for me, it has been so powerful because you are so present. You're creating such a ripple effect. And then if you can just shoot that out towards that thing that you want, it's like you're really putting it on that vision board, you know, and also it is helping to clear out your chakras, and you're able to notice like what chakra your orgasm is coming from.
Yeah.
Like, is it a very root chakra one? Like, that's really where that work is. Or, you know, even just by the tone of the orgasm, you can tell like what chakra it's related to. So, you know, you can tell like just the quality of what's showing up for you from the energy and texture of the orgasm.
Yeah, for sure. Each time it's different.
Yes. So, well, thank you so much for being on here and sharing all of your beautiful sexual and sensual wisdom with us. And where can listeners connect with you?
Yeah, they can connect with me on my Instagram, so tantric.alchemy, and also my website, tantricalchemy.net.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
How juicy was that conversation? I love talking about the intersection of spirituality and sexuality, and I really believe it is the forefront of the spiritual movement. It's time for us to talk about the taboos, the things that we are most shameful of, especially the thing that created the life, the reason that we are all here. So if you loved this conversation with Nadine, she is going to be an expert in Rose Gold Goddesses, which is the Sacred Sisterhood Collective, all about empowering you and supporting you to become your highest self. So we are opening doors again this January just for a week, and we're kicking it off with a 5-day Rose Gold Goddess Challenge where we will be embodying 5 goddess archetypes. So I invite you to head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com, join the waitlist, join the challenge, explore, and come join our community. There are bi-weekly experts, there are monthly goddess circles, there are thousands of like-minded women who love talking about conversations like this, who want to support you in your spiritual journey, who are ready to collaborate with you on businesses and projects and whatever it is that is channeling through you. These are your sisters who will be with you and here for you for the rest of your life. I mean, I have seen so many lifelong friendships already blossom from this community because it is truly a community unlike any other. It is the largest community of spiritual soul sisters, but like a unique vibration, because we're not talking about spirituality like Om Namah Shivaya and like nothing else. Like we're talking about Tantra and menstrual cycles and jade eggs and all of these other things that a lot of times we bypass over. We go into them, as well as entrepreneurship, abundance, dharma, boundaries, even the more difficult, harsh things that we might want to disassociate from in our reality, but it's all spiritual and it's all divine. So head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com to come join us, and I cannot wait to invite you in. If you loved this episode, I would love if you could leave me a review in the iTunes store. And as a free gift, I will share with you the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Simply email a screenshot of your review over to Sahara@eatfeelfresh.com. Again, Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com. And I will send you over the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Thank you and namaste.